first 2 years of the province's offer are in step with the final 2 years of other offers that unions have signed on to. Are you looking to set a pattern for future negotiations with the final 2 years of the offer to the Crowns?
We have a number of contracts that actually have that pattern in them already. So we've signed a number of 8-year contracts. There's about 3,000 public sector employees who fall under the 8-year deal, which has that pattern in it. So that has been the pattern that we've set.
Right, but none of those deals extend as far as the final 2 years of what the Crown has been offered, but they will all have expired by then. And so I'll try this again. Are you attempting to reset the pattern or reestablish a new pattern with the final 2 years of that Crown offer?
No, I don't know if that's actually really accurate. They're within the same time frame when their contract runs out, or maybe 12 months difference between some of them. We're now currently negotiating with teachers that go that same cycle. So we're in that contract cycle.
But so then is it safe to presume that what's been offered to the Crowns is what teachers and everybody else who's coming behind them would be looking for?
I would say that would be the pattern, yes.
And I just want to come back to something you had mentioned yesterday, but just to make sure I'm clear on it. The idea of avoiding the arbitrator, is your concern more about the 17% that these Crowns want, which doesn't amount to very much money in the context of the budget, or the broader implications if an arbitrator finds in favor of the Crowns for the rest of the public service when it comes time to negotiating?
Well, we've been consistent from the very beginning that we set the wage pattern across the entire public sector. If you go back and look what we provided for one, we actually trued up others. In the last go round, Crowns had a different deal. They were 0, 0, 0, 1, and 1. We went back and trued them up. So we provided them, which was a negotiated deal after they had agreed to one. So we're treating all workers the same. We negotiated. There are articles associated with their contracts. For example, we were talking about how do we get young prosecutors further up the pay scale quicker, and the steps. We looked at other options to do that. We dealt with that, or looked at that with other bargaining as well.
Are all workers the same?
When it comes to contractors, they're all paid differently, but the percentage of the raises are the same. That goes through the entire public sector. In our view, we have continued to set that pattern, continue to make sure that we bargain, that it needs to stay within the fiscal envelope of the province. The Minister just spoke. 1% is $50 million plus. We have right now $350 million on the table across the entire public sector. That 10%, it's another $500 million there. We don't have the capacity to pay that. That is just the reality for the province.
Premier, in 2015, in the last deal with Crown prosecutors, were they given a 30-year extension on their right to arbitration?
I don't know. I think they had a 20. I think it was extended a bit further. I don't know. It had been there. I don't know the length of time before, but I can check on that for you.
Premier, is this fair to the prosecutors?
This is fair that they have an option to continue to negotiate. What we're saying is that the deal that we have on the table is reflecting what's fair to taxpayers. That it would provide prosecutors the highest pay in the land of Canada. What we're providing them was a 7% pay raise. That's a substantial pay raise in the province. They obviously disagree with that. We've looked at other options about how do we deal with getting new Crowns for the pay scale quicker, other options for them. But this is what we believe is the ability of the province to be able to pay and fair to our workers.
But is it, I guess what I'm trying to get at though, is it fair to do this in the middle of negotiations?
What's clear to us is that workers have to have, the bargaining have to have an option when it comes if they're unhappy with what the deal ends up being. And that option takes many forms. It could be arbitration, it could be different forms of arbitration, or quite frankly, the right to strike. We're providing them with that right.
Premier, the Crown attorneys say that in 2015, the reason why they accepted the government's offer, and they were one of the first bargaining units to accept the government's offer, the reason why was because they were being given an extension on the arbitration. That was the quid pro quo in that deal. What's the value in negotiating that sort of thing for them if government's going to take it away from them as soon as they try to use arbitration?
Well, when you have an opportunity, if you have a 7% pay raise on the table, what is your reason to negotiate if you want 17? Send it to an arbitrator who has decided to make the decision.
But you would have known that, giving them the opportunity to have that right, you would have known that they are in great likelihood to exercise that right.
No, there's lots of people who have that right who has not exercised that, but you come to have what we believe is the appropriate bargaining. We looked at all kinds of options. If you go back and look at the step changes we wanted to make, 2/3 of the public prosecutors would have had a higher increase than just what's on the table. You know, we would have been looking at that, but to say absolutely no, we're going to let somebody else determine. It's a $500 million difference when it looks across the public sector. Where do you find that? I have a responsibility not only to people who work in government and work in the public sector. I have a responsibility for all Nova Scotians.
I
The Crowns are
understand the
not
math
asking for
on it, but
$500 million.
why?
When you look at how we negotiate, we treat one bargaining unit the same as the other. And you go back and look historically, it's not just our government. The pattern's been set. You've heard many labor movements tell you, the pattern's been set. And it sweeps through the public sector. So, they're setting a pattern, we're setting a pattern.
Premier, we
That's a
understand
collective
that we-
negotiation, that's how this works.
We understand the math on it, but why would you have given them the right in the first place, knowing that that's where this could lead?
I'll check the dates. I believe what it was extended date. That right was already there for them. It was like 20 years in. I
Right,
believe.
but you extended the right though, so
Yeah,
why even have it on the table, knowing that as a right, they're within their right to use it?
Because at that particular time in negotiating, they had a deal. That's what the deal was. We're now in negotiation where we said, we're prepared to have a conversation and talk about it. But we're $500 million apart, or $500 million apart. That's not negotiating. That's sending it outside of government. As I've said this before many times, the arbitrator doesn't take into account the ability of the taxpayer to pay. So, the question is, and we'll question for members who are going to be critical of this, we have $350 million on the table. If you want another $500 million, where am I getting it?
Is
This
it fair
bargaining
to
unit
put-
used arbitration in every round since 2000, with the exception of 2015. Are you surprised that they're going to arbitration?
Listen, I thought we would be able to find a solution, really. I thought there was my understanding, I'm not at the table, obviously. That's why we were working, particularly to bring younger crowns up with some steps. We need to make sure, as you know, there's a jury decision. How do we continue? Potentially may have to hire more. All of that will be a component of that, but I thought we would be there for sure.
Is it fair to put the potential fallout of an arbitrator's decision for the entire public service on the backs of about 130 people who are simply looking to exercise a contractual right?
When you look at the fact that the matter is, everyone tries to set their pattern. And regardless of the size of the bargaining unit, if you get enough of them, you end up setting a pattern. And the pattern currently, right now, is not sustainable for the province. You know, I can't say to one group of workers, you're worth a 17% increase, and then bargaining with a group of 10,000 people currently and say you're not. You know the situation that would happen. The reality of it is we're looking at trying to set a collective bargaining process that's there. We believe the 7% is fair. We looked at how do we bring up younger crowns quicker in the pay scale, which would have had them larger increase, but it has to be something that's affordable and sustainable.
Premier, there are other employees, government employees who, for whom arbitration is a factor or is a right. Will you take it away from them if you don't like the offer they're putting on the table?
That's just it's hypothetical. We're bargaining with some of those now. As you know, when we came in, healthcare workers did not have the right to strike. They could just did not have essential service. They had the right to strike without any guarantee of service. We had to obviously adjust that for the protection of Nova Scotians, at the same time ensuring those valuable services that are there will continue to be there. Every one of these are different. None of them are easy. But we believe the 7% pay raise reflects our ability to pay.
Are you
But Premier,
concerned that
you're
taking
talking
away
about-
a negotiated recourse for arbitration will reduce your credibility at the bargaining table with other groups?
No,
Why?
because I don't believe it will.
It's a hypothetical question, but it's one that will be on the minds of a lot of public sector workers who will be wondering if this pattern that you're setting is going to apply to them. And you're talking about setting patterns. It seems like taking away arbitration could set a precedent for a lot of people.
No, the pattern has been consistent with the previous round it was. It will be this round. There's other aspects related to our agreement with our employees. As I told you, the steps within inside of those pay scales, there's other articles that are on the table that can determine whether or not you can deal. So it's more than just the salary piece you're referring to. That one obviously has a major impact on the province's ability to pay. Our largest bill that we have is labor, and we need to make sure that we treat our workers fairly and we make what we believe is a fair offer and a fair wage. At the same time, providing services for the other 70% of Nova Scotians who are not in the public sector.
Thanks, Premier. Thank you.